We've heard a lot in the past about the negative impact of video games. Does that research still hold true today?
Well, the research is kind of mixed. It depends on the researcher you talk to, but certainly there is some new research out that suggests that there are some positives to video games, especially those high-level, high-activity video games that a lot of children like to play. There are some positive aspects of that. There's a decision-making, manual dexterity, some teamwork involved in some of those games when children are doing those online, and communication skills that can be built. So there can be some positive aspects of that. One other one would be multitasking. But again, anything consumed in too much volume can be detrimental. So we also have to look at those kind of aspects as well when we look at video games.
Is video gaming really a new form of media, or is it just taking the place of something else?
It really probably is taking the place of something else. Experts are now beginning to see that maybe children acting out after using a video game may be more a symptom or more a reflection of some issues that a child already had rather than their response to the video game. One expert said we really need to not think about so much about what a child is getting out of a video game, but actually what they take into that video game. And so behaviors we see in the online world may really be behaviors that a child was already exhibiting. They're just using that online world or the video game as an outlet.
And some of the other positives, it's also become a social thing for kids too, right? It's not them necessarily playing with strangers online.
That's true. Many of these games have a social aspect to it. Children play online. They play online with their friends, so they're forming a community. And oftentimes those are cooperative communities where children play on a game together and exhibit some teamwork. So there can be some positive aspects to that. And again, that's just one of those areas where children, when they're in those online environments and engage in a community, parents want to know who their friends are in that community to make sure they're the friends that they want their children, not only that they would be hanging out with in person, but that they're hanging out with online.
And what are some of the potential concerns about maybe a child spending too much time gaming?
Well, just as with anything else, one time in one activity can be detrimental. First of all, most of those games are kids sitting around playing. So you got that sedentary lifestyle setting in that's not healthy. The other thing is there is some level of video game addiction. You know, if the first thing your child thinks about when they get up in the morning is to play a video game, that's not a healthy aspect. You want to make sure that if your child, that's all they want to do is to play the video game, then you want to think about limiting the video game. The other thing is this, some of these video games reward you for what we would call negative behavior. For instance, in a video game, killing somebody is rewarded with a point scoring system. So as a parent, you want to make sure you're playing video games with children. You want to make sure they're using age-appropriate games. And that when you see some behavior in a video game that maybe goes against your family value system, you want to make sure you're using that as an opportunity to talk to your child to say, you know, it's okay if we suspend reality a little bit here in this video game and do that, but what about in real life? And make sure that your children aren't losing sort of their moral compass to the video game in what they're thinking about what's appropriate in everyday life.
So what other advice would there be for parents who maybe are getting ready to buy Christmas presents or gifts of video games for their kids?
Well, again, check out the video game. You know, if you go on YouTube and plug in the name of a video game, you'll find all kinds of videos online where people play the video games and show others how to play the video games. So you can go online and see what the content is like and whether that's something you want your child to be watching or playing. So that's one way. Make sure you're getting age-appropriate video games, and sometimes that's a little tricky because what the rating system says may be appropriate for an age group may not be what a family feels is appropriate for the age group. So again, try to check out the game before. Make sure you're playing the games with your children as much as you can, because actually there is some research too that shows there are positive benefits from adults and children playing together. It builds community with them and allows for communication between children and adults. And then again, set limits on the time you'll allow your children to play. Some parents say no screen time during the week or no video games during the week. And then on the weekends, limiting the amount of time the children can play. You can actually go on Common Sense Media and you'll find on there that they have some contracts that you can sign with your children that have agreements as to screen time and video game time. And those agreements, that once you set them and then make sure you stick to the guidelines to which you've agreed, can really help build some healthy habits in the family for screen time, video game time, and then making sure there's appropriate time for physical activity and family time.